Well, we're winding down 2012, and you know what that means. Lots of looks back at the last 12 months. The best ofs, the worst ofs, and the most significant events and people of the year. Well, here at RT America, we decided to put together a list of our own of the most influential people of the year. Our intrepid producers put together a longer list. They actually had 23 names on it. And every member of our news team chose their top 5. And that final list was compiled from the winners. So here is our top 5 most influential people of the year. Number 5, German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Not only is she the first woman to hold the top German political post, she's also considered the de facto leader of the EU, an organization that holds the economic fate of many countries in its so-called hands. Number 4, 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, who was shot and killed back in February of 2012 in Sanford, Florida. Now, his death sparked a nationwide discussion about guns, stereotypes, and about a law called Stand Your Ground. Number 3, Private First Class Bradley Manning. Manning was arrested in May of 2010 and believed to be responsible for leaking classified information to the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks. He has spent much of this year preparing for hearings and court-martial, and the nature of both his crime and his punishment has been at the forefront of discussion in this country for most of the year. Number 2, the person who shot the 47% video that showed presidential candidate Mitt Romney speaking to his donors. This video is believed to steer what was a very close race into a new direction. And the number 1 most influential person of 2012, according to RT America, is the hacktivist group Anonymous. They've been around for nearly a decade, but really became much more well-known this year for various things. Just to name one, after the file hosting service Mega Upload was taken down, Anonymous went in and took down the websites of the Justice Department, the FBI, and more. To talk more about these picks, we brought in RT producer Adriana Ucero earlier today. I first asked her, what was Anonymous' biggest move of the year?
I mean, what's interesting if you look at it long term, I mean, people would point out the Stratford hack, which is, as we all know, when Anonymous went in and hacked the intelligence firm known as Stratford. However,
that happened in December, but
exactly, but the release was actually of documents was actually in 2012. If even now, even when they first came out, it wasn't really that, media organizations, whatnot, didn't find it as important, but they were still learning a lot of interesting things through that information. However, many people here cited other things like Op Israel, which is where Anonymous took down many of the servers of the Israeli government, took down many of all the official websites, and also Syria, where they tried to keep the internet online for many, even though it was virtually shut down for a couple of days.
And Gaza as well, I think, too, during that crisis. And I know a lot of us sort of went on to I think it was the, I don't know if it was a prime minister or somebody in Israel, his Facebook page was hacked into by Anonymous, and there was a Free Palestine put up into sort of the wallpaper of his Facebook page.
Absolutely was. So really people were, when they were talking about Anonymous, they would really just put all these together and just see this as a sign of the growing influence on the internet. So I think that's the big takeaway from that.
Yeah, and this isn't just sort of a group of computer savvy people. These are people who definitely have strong opinions about certain things and make that known. And I think sort of the bigger picture here is that they're able to do this. The fact that they're able to hack into the FBI website kind of shows you a lot about their influence and their power. I want to talk now about the person who shot the 47% video. Now, I was surprised by this one at first because it's not like after it aired, President Obama sailed to victory in the presidency. There was still sort of a roller coaster for both campaigns in the polls. But I think the bigger aspect of this is, sort of the issues of technology and privacy.
Absolutely. I mean, you just said it yourself perfectly. It wasn't like it was just, smooth sailing after that was released. It was, when you're talking to a lot of people around here in the office, they say the same thing. They say that this was an example of politicians realizing that they're always on. They're, no matter what you say, when you say
even when you're speaking at a private event to a group of donors.
You will be held accountable for what you say. And, politics and technology are, coming together in very strange ways. I mean, he obviously wasn't the only person to suffer some sort of setback due to, a mishap or a quote. I mean, we all remember Todd Akin. We all remember all these other Republicans that said some things on camera that I'm sure they wish they hadn't said by now.
Yeah, but they were speaking to the media.
media, exactly. But now you can, you know, even before maybe 20 or so years ago, you could still get away with that. But things nowadays, they go viral, and this is a great example of that.
I want to talk now about Bradley Manning, the alleged source for really the largest intelligence leak in U.S. history. He now faces 22 counts for his court-martial and could land in prison for the rest of his life. I know that for the first time, just in the last few weeks, we actually heard Bradley Manning speak in his pretrial hearing. It's been going on for a long time, and I think, you know, his lawyer has said this case should be thrown out overall based on, you know, his unlawful pretrial punishment. So I think his case is bringing up a whole lot about, you know, classified information, about really trying to report wrongdoing. I mean, certainly that video of the Apache helicopter pilots kind of treating war as a video game, just killing anyone that got in their path, sort of. I mean, this was a video. Bradley Manning didn't do that. He just released the video and made it public.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you just said, it certainly made waves. However, you know, that information did come out 2 years ago. So you might be asking, so why is it's 2012? Why is he influential now? Well, you put it yourself. You put it beautifully, which is right now we heard him speak for the first time, and him describing that punishment and describing punishment for essentially, you know, disseminating information has broad effects, and that's essentially why people picked him.
I think, too, just to expand that discussion a slight bit, and that is the subject of torture. A lot of people say that you know, when he was first brought in, that he was kept in solitary confinement for 9 months. This is before any charges were filed against him. He still has not had an actual, you know, court-martial. But his treatment once he was arrested is something that's really raised a lot of red flags and really raised a lot of questions about torture and about the effectiveness of torture, both on U.S. citizens like Bradley Manning and abroad on prisoners in Guantanamo Bay. How effective is it? So I think sort of as a symbol of with the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks and of this punishment that he received for this alleged crime, it's really raised a lot of questions.
And absolutely, and also it sort of brought back the question of what is newsworthy and what isn't. The New York Times, as we know, got a lot of flack for not sending someone to that pretrial hearing that we were talking about, where we first heard him speak.
Right.
And it brought up a lot of criticisms of what is news, what is not news. And it sort of brought that back to say, like, hey, so if things you think are important aren't being covered, then speak out, because you have a voice in this.
Our number 4 pick here was Trayvon Martin. This one was pretty understandable to me. I think there's a lot to say about this. And like most of our picks, his shooting death did not result in the changing of laws. It didn't result really in the changing of policy, but it did spark a nationwide discussion about race, about you know, stereotypes that people have about, you know, a young kid wearing a hoodie, and about guns, and also about these laws, which, by the way, some version of which, you know, these stand your ground laws are in more than half of the states in this country.
Very true.
And, you know, what is stand your ground, and when can it be used? And I think the accused, you know, killer of Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman, is trying to say, well, it should be able to be used whenever.
And again, I think that you hit a great point at the beginning when you were saying that it opened a conversation. And Trayvon is sort of like Bradley Manning is a symbol. I mean, when the president of the United States comes out and says, my son could look like Trayvon, that has repercussions. And in a country where, you know, we do have race conversations, some might argue that we don't have them openly, we don't have them candidly, and, you know, this was an opportunity to be able to go and examine.
Real quick, because we're almost out of time, let's go to Angela Merkel. She's somewhat self-explanatory. She sort of wears the pants in the Euro family. Why do you think she made the list?
Well, you said it yourself right there. I mean, she essentially has the fate of the Eurozone in her hands, so very easy pick.
All right. Well, of course, this was not a you know, widespread poll, but we did want to poll people in our newsroom who we consider to be, you know, experienced and intelligent, and then that's what we came up with. Appreciate you coming on air to break it down with me, RT producer Adriana Ucero.